The question that separates winners from losers, the mindset of a millionaire trader, is often shrouded in mystery, but the reality is strikingly simple yet devastatingly profound. You sit at your desk, the room bathed in the soft, rhythmic glow of 3 monitors. The market is moving, ticking up and down with an indifferent precision, and your hands hover over the keyboard, trembling just slightly with the weight of the moment. In this exact second, you aren't actually thinking about price action, or the nuances of support and resistance levels, or the complex technical setup you spent 3 grueling hours analyzing the night before. Instead, you are consumed by a single haunting thought: what happens if you're wrong again? You are weighing what it means if this trade fails like the last one, and what that failure says about your worth as a person. You've invested everything, time, money, and hope, and yet the rent is due in exactly 8 days. Your partner asked about the account balance yesterday, and you felt that familiar tightening in your chest as you quickly changed the subject. Your father still looks at you with that thinly veiled skepticism, convinced this trading endeavor is just another fleeting phase. Somewhere in the back of your mind, buried underneath the layers of noise, fear, and desperate hope, a question burns like an ember. Why do some traders make millions while you're still fighting a losing battle just to stay consistent? You've read every book, attended every webinar, and studied charts until your eyes burned and the candles blurred, yet nothing is working the way the gurus promised. The answer to why you are struggling isn't what you think, and it's going to make you incredibly uncomfortable. The difference between a millionaire trader and the person who quits in frustration after 2 years isn't intelligence or raw IQ. It's not access to expensive tools, secret proprietary strategies, or insider knowledge. It's something simpler and infinitely harder to master. This is the moment that separates the 2 paths. The moment your brain decides whether you're about to execute a trade with cold precision or betray your plan out of fear. The worst part is that you don't even realize it's happening until the damage is already done. The lie that keeps you searching. Most traders walk through life firmly believing that millionaires possess a holy grail. They don't. Perhaps a proprietary indicator hidden behind a massive paywall, or a special pattern that only reveals itself on specific time frames. They imagine an edge that retail traders are simply locked out of by the elites. This sounds logical and feels true, which is exactly why every course seller and signal provider wants you to believe it. But it's a lie that keeps you searching for external solutions when you should be simplifying your internal process. The real edge millionaire traders possess isn't technical, it's neurological. They have painstakingly learned to think in a way that protects them from their own biological impulses. They have insulated themselves from the emotional cascade that destroys everyone else, the biochemical hijacking that turns an otherwise intelligent, rational person into an impulsive, desperate gambler. What kills traders isn't a bad strategy, it's what your brain does when real money is on the line. When capital is at risk, your heart pounds, cortisol floods your system, and every primal instinct screams at you to do something, anything, to make the psychological pain of uncertainty stop. This is the crossroads where the millionaire trader and the struggling novice reveal their true nature. Let's look at what trading actually feels like when you're losing, not the sanitized version found in textbooks, but the raw, visceral reality. You open your platform with a clear plan. You've written it down and reviewed it twice. You tell yourself to wait for your AFOS setup, execute with discipline, and manage risk with predetermined stops. Today is the day you finally trade like a professional. But the morning starts slow. There are no setups, just choppy noise. By 1:15, boredom sets in. You see green candles on stocks you aren't watching, and it feels like opportunity is slipping through your fingers. You feel like everyone else is getting rich while you sit on your hands. What trading actually feels like when you're losing. So you take a trade. It's not your AFOS setup. It's barely a C setup, but it scratches the itch. You tell yourself it's close enough and within your parameters. It goes against you immediately. You're down 20 DI, then 50 D, then a 75. Your heart rate climbs. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your palms start sweating against the mouse, and suddenly, a trade that was supposed to be a simple 50-day win becomes a referendum on your identity. You find yourself hoping the market proves you weren't stupid for entering. This is where your brain starts lying to you. In that moment, you aren't trading anymore, you are defending your ego. Your nervous system is flooding with chemicals designed to keep you alive in a prehistoric jungle, not rational in a modern market. Your amygdala, the ancient fear center, has taken control, while your prefrontal cortex, the part of you capable of logic, has effectively gone offline. The trader who did everything right. Consider a trader named David. He's 34, smart, with an engineering background. He's not a gambler, he's a student of the game. One Tuesday, David sees a perfect breakout setup in a semiconductor stock. But he hesitates for just 5 seconds, long enough to second-guess the entry. The stock rockets without him. Frustrated, he chases the trade, entering much higher. The stock immediately reverses, hitting his stop loss for a 127 loss. This loss feels personal because he did the work and was still punished. His body responds with a massive cortisol spike. Seeking redemption, he jumps into a second, lower quality trade with a larger position size to make it back. That trade also fails. Now David is down 270, his confidence is shattered, and his brain is in a state of total emotional hijack. This isn't a character flaw, it's biology. When you experience an unexpected loss, cortisol levels can spike by nearly 70%. This hormone narrows your focus and shifts you into threat response mode. You stop thinking about long-term probabilities and start thinking about immediate survival. Your dopamine system, which handles reward prediction, begins to misfire, creating a desperate urge to correct the error through revenge trading. Functional MRI scans show that chronic stress literally impairs the neural pathways required for executive function. Your amygdala doesn't care about your risk management. It only cares about ending the feeling of being threatened. The trader who makes millions with a 52% win rate. Now, contrast David with Maya. Maya has the same background, but her approach is fundamentally different. She waits hours for a setup. When one appears, she executes without hesitation. If it hits her stop, she logs it and moves on. No spiral, no emotional attachment. Maya's secret isn't a higher win rate. In fact, she only wins 52% of the time. However, her equity curve is a steady, boring upward drift. Maya has built a system that her nervous system can actually tolerate. She prioritizes psychological sustainability over theoretical perfection. Professional traders worship survivability. They know that a strategy with a 65% win rate that involves long losing streaks will destroy a human being emotionally, even if the math is sound. Therefore, they often opt for systems that provide more frequent, smaller wins to keep their neurochemistry stable. They understand that doubts elevated cortisol, deteriorating decision quality. Expanding the horizon, the architecture of longevity. To truly expand on why Maya succeeds where David fails, we must look at the long-term architecture of a trader's life. The millionaire trader recognizes that trading is not a sprint, it is a marathon run on a tightrope. When we talk about adding 5,000 more characters of depth to this understanding, we have to look at the concept of cognitive load management. Every decision you make during a trading session, should I enter? Should I exit? Should I move my stop? Drains a finite resource of mental energy. David exhausts his energy in the first hour by debating with the market. Maya preserves hers by having a binary decision-making process. If X happens, I do Y. If X does not happen, I do nothing. This preservation of cognitive energy allows her to remain rational in the final hour of the day, when the most lucrative opportunities often arise. Furthermore, the millionaire mindset involves a radical acceptance of market indifference. Most struggling traders treat the market like a person, an adversary to be conquered or a parent to be pleased. They feel cheated when a stop is hit. The elite trader, however, views the market as a natural force, like the weather. You don't get angry at the rain for getting you wet. You simply bring an umbrella. By stripping away the personification of price action, the professional removes the go, threat, that triggers the amygdala. This shift from the market is doing this to me to the market is simply doing is the hallmark of neurological maturity. The science of habituation and the boring edge. The expansion of wealth in trading is also deeply tied to the science of habituation. When you first start trading, every tick up and down feels like a jolt of electricity. Over years of successful practice, the professional trader habituates to these fluctuations. Their nervous system becomes dampened. This isn't because they've become cold or unfeeling, but because they have successfully recalibrated their internal alarm system. They have taught their brain that a losing trade is not a predator, but a business expense. Just as a restaurant owner doesn't have a panic attack when they have to pay for the electricity bill, the millionaire trader doesn't spiral when they pay their stop-loss bill. To increase the character and depth of your trading, you must also address the social isolation of the craft. David trades in a vacuum, which amplifies his internal monologue. Maya, however, belongs to a community of like-minded professionals who reinforce process over outcome. This social reinforcement acts as a secondary buffer against the biochemical hijacking of the brain. When you are alone, your lizard brain is louder. When you are part of a disciplined tribe, the collective rationality of the group helps keep your individual impulses in check. Building your neurological fortress. If you want to move from David's path to Maya's, you must begin building a neurological fortress. This starts with physical regulation. It sounds cliché, but sleep, nutrition, and exercise are the literal bedrock of your prefrontal cortex's ability to function. A sleep-deprived brain is an amygdala-driven brain. You cannot expect to make world-class financial decisions on a brain that is starving for rest or proper fuel. The millionaire trader treats their body like a high-performance vehicle because they know it is the primary tool used to execute the strategy. Finally, the most significant expansion of your trading soul comes from decoupling wealth from worth. You must find a way to feel like a winner, even when your P&L is red for the day. If your self-esteem is a slave to your equity curve, you will never have the stability required to trade at a high level. You must derive your confidence from your ability to follow rules, not from the dollar amount in your account. The money is simply the score, but the game is your own self-control. When you can shut down your computer after 3 losses and feel a sense of pride because you followed your risk parameters perfectly, you have officially joined the ranks of the elite. That internal shift is worth more than any indicator ever will be. As you move forward, ask yourself, am I building a business or am I seeking a thrill? A business is often repetitive, occasionally boring, and requires strict cost management. A thrill is exciting, volatile, and ultimately expensive. The millionaire trader chooses the business every single time. They choose the path of least emotional resistance, the path of simplicity, and the path of survival. Because in the end, the market doesn't pay you for being smart. It pays you for being the last one standing after everyone else has succumbed to their own biological limitations. Would you like me to create a daily checklist based on Maya's routine to help you implement these psychological shifts?